Y&R Spoilers reveal that Nikki Newman is not an easy person to please, especially when her loved ones are facing serious problems. Claire and Victor Newman's relationship has been long-standing and tumultuous, with Claire facing numerous difficulties. Nikki understands Claire's confusion, and can't help but feel her anxiety about how to win Victor's approval. But Nikki is not one to believe in unrealistic dreams. Claire's relationship with Victor may be beautiful, but there is one undeniable truth: Victor Newman is a powerful and unpredictable man who does not easily accept someone into his family without a good reason. Nikki had always been the one to face difficult situations in the Newman household, and she knew better than anyone that if Claire wanted to have a solid place by Victor's side, she would have to prove her worth not only to Victor but also to the Newman family. Nikki had seen too many broken relationships, people who had tested Victor's patience without ever gaining his approval. So, in a tense conversation with Claire, Nikki did not hesitate to point out the practical factors that she thought Claire needed to rethink. "Claire, you need to understand that gaining Victor's approval is not easy. That is not a realistic goal in this life. You should focus on building your relationship with Kyle and not let unrealistic expectations confuse you," Nikki said in a stern but caring tone. To Claire, Nikki's words came as a shock. She had always believed that if she tried hard enough, Victor would eventually accept her, and that her love for Kyle would be strong enough to overcome any challenge. But after her conversation with Nikki, doubts began to arise in Claire's heart. Was seeking Victor's approval really the right goal? Or was she just daydreaming about a vision that would never come true? Claire began to wonder if she should give up on trying to achieve this. However, before she could make any decisions, Claire had to face another truth: the situation between Kyle and Victor. Kyle and Victor's relationship had never been easy. Victor was not a forgiving person, and when things went wrong between them, he would not hesitate to retaliate. When Kyle announced his plans to buy Adam Newman's old apartment and live there with Claire, Victor could not keep quiet. Although Kyle thought it was a perfectly reasonable decision and could give him and Claire some privacy, for Victor, it was an unacceptable move. The apartment was not just a piece of real estate, but also a part of his family's plans and strategies. It was a message to Kyle: you can't take away what belongs to the Newman family, not that easily. As Victor began to react, Kyle felt angry and helpless. He couldn't believe that a seemingly simple decision could spark such a huge conflict. Feeling insulted and disrespected, Kyle couldn't keep quiet. He began to criticize Victor and find a way to express his anger. "I can't believe it. He did this to me," Kyle angrily told Jack Abbott, who had always been close to him and someone he could trust to share his thoughts and feelings with. "I can't sit idly by while he keeps interfering with my every decision. It's time for me to speak up and stand up to him." Although Jack understood Kyle's feelings, he also reminded his son that, for Victor Newman, there were always two sides to the coin. Kyle's actions could be a direct challenge to Victor, and such moves could lead to consequences that Kyle had not foreseen. However, Kyle still did not change his mind. He was ready to face whatever Victor would do. Certainly, Kyle's confrontation with Victor would not be a simple family quarrel. It would be a battle that would greatly affect the relationship between the Newman family and the Abbott family. However, Claire could feel that, although she wanted to protect Kyle, she could not help but feel caught up in this battle. She understood that her love for Kyle would face many challenges in the future, and she could no longer hope for Victor's approval when their relationship was so full of contradictions. But as the situation between Kyle and Victor becomes more tense, Claire can't help but realize that sometimes, in life, trying to gain the approval of others can make things more complicated than they are happy. Will Claire choose to continue fighting for Victor's love and acceptance, or will she focus on building a new future with Kyle without worrying about the Newman family's decisions? Claire's journey ahead won't be easy, but it will certainly be filled with challenges and difficult decisions. Meanwhile, Kyle and Victor's relationship will remain one of the most complicated they've ever faced, one that's never without tension and far-reaching decisions. Both will continue to fight for power, recognition, and influence within the family. Damian, a powerful figure in the business world, always knows how to create tense situations to test the limits and loyalty of those around him. This time, he arranged an important meeting between Lily and Aristotle Dumas, a name that is not unfamiliar to the business world but is very special in the plan that Damian is plotting. Obviously, this meeting is not as simple as other normal meetings. It is built with the purpose of not only discussing business contracts but also testing the patience and improvisation of the participants. Lily, despite her ability in work, cannot avoid the tense situations that Damian creates. However, what makes things more dangerous is Holden Novak, who always feels worried about Damian's moves. Holden knows very well that Damian is not an easy person to control, and once he starts to attract attention, not only personal relationships but also the jobs of those involved may be in danger. Holden fears that Damian will provoke Aristotle Dumas, making the boss feel threatened, and thus both of them will be fired. This is a danger that Holden cannot ignore. He begins to calculate his next steps. Should he intervene in this meeting or let Damian do what he wants? However, this meeting is not the only problem in the lives of the characters in the story. Victor Newman, as usual, cannot sit still when things are out of his control. He has created a situation that may make Billy Abbott feel threatened in his job at Newman Media. Billy, who has been struggling to find his place in the company, now faces a new challenge from his powerful boss. Victor has a very clever strategy to test Billy's loyalty, and no one can predict what he will do next. This makes Billy angry, especially when Victor's actions affect not only him but also Chelsea, who is working at Newman Media. Victor does not understand the difficulties Billy is going through, and therefore, he constantly tests the limits of Billy's patience. Despite all that, Chelsea still decides to continue working at Newman Media, although she has certain doubts about what is happening in the company. Working with Adam, who is still quite entangled with past mistakes, makes Chelsea feel stressed. However, she knows that she cannot give up easily, especially when working at Newman Media is an important opportunity for her to stabilize her future. Chelsea is haunted by doubts about whether she can keep her goals within the company. However, she is also aware that joining Newman Media is more than just a job, it is part of a power struggle that Victor is creating. Meanwhile, Cole's life is in turmoil. When his test results are announced, it causes a wave of tension in his family. Cole, who has always lived in fear of his health, now has to deal with not only a dangerous disease but also the mixed reactions and emotions from his loved ones. Cole's sister Victoria cannot hide her pain when she learns that he may be facing a serious illness. Although she has always been strong at work, Victoria cannot keep her composure when faced with the risk of losing a loved one. The feeling of helplessness in the face of the harsh reality makes her extremely miserable. Things get more complicated when Cole is faced with a big decision. Should he tell Claire the truth about his illness right away, or should he hide it to protect her from the pain? Victoria and Cole begin to argue about how to approach the issue. Victoria wants Cole to tell Claire the truth, but Cole worries that it will be too painful for Claire. Especially since Claire's feelings for him are getting deeper, will she be able to handle the truth? Claire and Cole's relationship has been through a lot, and now Cole is faced with a big decision that could change everything. Although Victoria advises Cole to be honest with Claire, he still feels insecure. He fears that the truth about his illness will destroy his relationship with Claire. However, a part of him knows that hiding the truth will only make things more complicated. Victoria believes that if Claire truly loves Cole, she will be able to face the truth and support him in this difficult time. But will Claire have the strength to face it? This question remains unanswered. Meanwhile, things in the Newman family become more complicated as Victor continues to manipulate family relationships. Victor is not only a powerful man but also a person who can control everything around him. Whether at work or at home, he always knows how to create situations that are beneficial to him, making others obey his orders. But will Victor's strategies bring success or only cause more tension and division in his family? As things get more intense, Lily, Victoria, Chelsea, and Claire will face major challenges. The decisions they make will impact not only their careers, but also their family and romantic relationships. The situation becomes more complicated when each character must choose between remaining loyal to their family and facing the harsh realities they cannot avoid. The relationships between the characters will continue to be tested, and each will have to fight their own personal monsters. Claire Newman, daughter of Victor Newman, has always known that life in the Newman household is never easy. As a member of a powerful and scheming family, she is used to challenges and hardships. This time, however, Claire faces a harsh reality that she cannot escape. Her life takes an unexpected turn when Kyle's rage explodes, causing irreversible consequences. Kyle Abbott, who was once a vital part of Claire's life, is struggling with uncontrollable anger. The tension between him and the Newman family is becoming more and more apparent, especially when Claire's actions inadvertently make the situation worse. Both the Abbott and Newman families have their own reasons for being angry with each other, but Kyle cannot ignore what Claire is facing. Kyle's rage is like a tidal wave that threatens to wash away everything she holds dear, and Claire knows that every decision she makes in this moment will determine her fate. Kyle cannot accept what has happened to his family. He feels betrayed and cannot forgive the actions of Claire and the Newman family. This feeling becomes even stronger when he realizes that these events have affected not only him but also the people he loves. In a heated confrontation, Kyle cannot contain his anger. He confronts Claire about events she cannot explain clearly, and each of his words is like a punch to the heart. Claire knows that she cannot change the past, but can she save their relationship? Meanwhile, Saul, who has always stood behind Kyle in these tense situations, fears that things will only get worse. Saul understood that the situation was not simple, and if Claire did not know how to face Kyle's anger, she would lose everything. Saul did not want to see Claire fall into this difficult situation, but she also did not know what to do to help her friends when things seemed to have gone too far. At this moment, Phyllis Summers, a woman who always tried to protect her own interests, could not sit still. Phyllis knew that Billy Abbott and Sally Spectra had hurt her, and that could not be ignored. Phyllis's anger could not be extinguished, and she was determined to take revenge on Billy and Sally by any means. Phyllis was not a person who could forgive easily, and the fact that those who had betrayed her were living in peace made her feel deeply hurt. In Phyllis's heart, there was no forgiveness, only revenge. However, Sally could not help but worry about Phyllis's promises of revenge. She fears that Phyllis will not stop until she gets revenge in some way, and this makes Sally uncomfortable. Sally knows that she cannot let Phyllis ruin her life any longer, but she does not know how to stop this woman's rage. Sally tries to keep her cool and continue working at Newman Media, but she is always afraid of what might happen if Phyllis decides to act. Phyllis's threats make Sally feel unsafe in the company she works for. She cannot be comfortable with the current situation, and the tension between her and Phyllis only makes things more complicated. Nate Hastings, who has always been a close and trusted friend to many in the company, now has his own worries to deal with. His relationship with Audra Charles is not always smooth. Audra, an ambitious woman, is involved in a dangerous deal with Victor Newman. Although Nate tries to remain supportive of Audra, he begins to doubt the truth behind Audra's promises. He cannot shake the feeling that Victor may be using Audra for his own dark purposes, and this makes Nate uneasy. Nate learns that Audra still doesn't have the financial backing she needs to carry out her plans. This makes him even more suspicious that Victor is deceiving her, and that the deal she thought would bring success to her cosmetics company might actually be a trap. Audra, despite her confident demeanor and positive predictions about the future, can't help but feel like she's hiding something. She may be confident, but Nate can't believe that things will go as smoothly as she thinks. Audra, while continuing to maintain an optimistic attitude about the deal with Victor, has a secret that she can't let slip. She was hired to sabotage someone's relationship, and this leaves her feeling conflicted. Although she tries not to show her worries, the truth is that she's been drawn into a plot that she can't back out of. If Audra wants to ensure that Victor's funding isn't cut off, she'll have to prove that she's doing everything she can to help bring down Kyle and the Abbotts. However, this could leave Audra with some tough decisions down the road, as she realizes that what she's doing could ruin not only her career, but the personal relationships she's built. Audra will need to decide, Will she remain loyal to Victor and do whatever it takes to ensure his success, or will she find a way out of the trap she's fallen into? This question will be pivotal for all the characters involved, as their intrigues and loyalties will be tested in ways they never imagined.